Good morning from Albania. Day 4 of the e-bike ride is well underway. This is more of a rest day today. We've just left Përmet behind us. We've got about 37 kilometers to go. And now our target for the day is a place called Gjirokastër, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site in Ottoman town. But it's also important because that's where Enver Hoxha, the Albanian communist dictator, was born. And then in Përmet, where we were just from, that's where he sort of cemented his rule with the Congress of Përmet in 1944, which essentially put the communists into power after the Second World War. And these bunkers are still everywhere. This restaurant slash cafe has a bunker built into its courtyard, or the restaurant's built around the bunker. Want to get a coffee in a bunker?
Safest place to have a coffee.
Safest place to have a coffee in the event of nuclear fallout or a Yugoslavian invasion. There's literally just a bunker on the side of the road. They seem to have turned into a little museum. Cool. So yeah, Hoxha ordered the building of hundreds of thousands of these, and now they're just a part of everyday Albanian life, I suppose. They turned this one into it wasn't a cafe, it was a cheese shop, actually, where you can buy fresh cheese, honey, rakia, wine. So yeah, the bunker is also a cheese shop. Check it out. Homemade wine, raki, and lots of cheese. Alright, so we're just further along the Vjosa River, and we just crossed over to the other bank because check out this view. Below it, this is the dodgiest iron bridge ever, probably built during the communist era, but this view is just absolutely incredible. One of Europe's only remaining wild rivers. Alright, we're just carrying on. We crossed the bridge again and we're being held up by this big herd of goats coming down the main road. So many goats. It absolutely reeks of goat cheese. Fucking goats, eh? Back on the road. Oh, look at this fella. Looks like he could eat you alive.
I was thinking that.
Alright, we have made it to Gjirokastër, end of our 4th day of cycling. First stop is Borderlands. Beautiful. What have we got? We got corn and spinach, and what else did we get?
Cottage cheese, bro.
Cottage cheese. Look at that. Traditional Albanian pie, €2 for a hefty slab of it. So this is Gjirokastër. The Byzantines founded this around the 12th, 13th century. Then the Ottomans came in, took over the place. And when we walk through the old bazaar in a second, you'll see all the kind of Ottoman-style Turkish streets. And then from there, we're going to head up to the fortress. But on the way, we're going to check out some old Cold War tunnels, built, of course, by Mr. Enver Hoxha, the Albanian dictator who was born in Gjirokastër. The city was built around this fortress here, which was the one built by the Byzantines to hold this strategic valley in Albania. So these are the old town bazaar streets. And compared to everywhere else we've been on this bike ride, this place is proper touristy. So this is where the tourism scene in Albania begins, really. So you can buy all these, what looks like World War II helmets. Buy all this World War II memorabilia by the looks of it. Communist torches, belts, ammunition cartridges. And this is the nostalgia tunnel over here. Should we go in the nostalgia tunnel? This is the man himself, Enver Hoxha, the dictator of Albania. So he was dictator from 1944 until 1984.
What happened in 84?
He died.
What happened then?
Someone else took over.
What
And then the whole regime collapsed in
Yeah.
1990s, I think.
And then what happened?
And then Albania went to shit, basically, for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And that was that. Right, we're going to check out the Nostalgia Tunnel 100 Lek entry. All right, here we go, Kev.
World War I and II guns.
Oh,
Military badges from Colorado.
so she said the tunnel stretches for 73 meters beneath the castle, and they've just filled it with all sorts of what looks like communist era memorabilia.
Viva la revolution.
So Comrade Kevin. Albanian World War I and World War II helmets, gas masks, military water bottles. It's just like household detritus, isn't it?
An espresso for you, sir.
Oh, you've got racky glasses as well. There you go, communist bowls. I don't know what makes a communist bowl different from a
No, the same.
normal bowl. Yeah, here's your dinosaur, mate.
Ooh,
Communist dinosaur.
Albanian dinosaur.
Iron pot. These are just pots and pans from people's kitchen, aren't they?
You got your Tefal. No microplastics in these, bad boys.
Communist Tefal. Tefal? I think this is one of Enver Hoxha's propaganda signs. I don't know what that means. Something about revolutionaries. Looks like some communist magazines as well. Oh, we've reached the end, where you can watch a video about Albanian history.
So Albania was virtually cut off from the rest of the world.
So there we go, that is the Nostalgia Tunnel. And presumably this was built as part of the massive fortifications and underground bunkers and tunnels, and yet another Cold War tunnel here. Again, built under the castle. See where it ends up. Sounds ominous. So this tunnel goes right under the castle. I think during Hoxha's regime, they built hundreds of, probably thousands of miles of tunnels across Albania underneath all the cities to defend against attacks that basically never came from Yugoslavia or Western countries. Yeah, I think we've come out on the other side of the castle. Nice view, mate. Beautiful. Now we're going to head up these little paths and see if we can get to the top of the castle. All right, so we've come a little bit off-piste up the side of the castle. So we're hoping we can get in this way, but if not, we're going to have to head back down and go through the tunnel again and find the real entrance. I think this is a dead end. Oh yeah, that's padlocked. Yeah, we definitely can't get in that way. All right, the gate's definitely locked to this side, so let's go back through the Cold War tunnel and then find the actual entrance to get inside.
Can we get there?
I reckon we go up here.
Sure.
I'm not sure, but let's try it. You can buy Joseph Stalin's autobiography.
Is that his book?
I don't know. Stalin, the Rat. And Enver Hoxha's books as well.
Did you write a book?
He wrote like 12 books.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's like part 8. There's a plaque outside the castle, which is a memorial in memory of the anti-communist martyrs that were arrested, punished, tortured, executed, died of torture, and disappeared at the prison of Gjirokastër Castle, one of the most notorious prisons of communist dictatorships. So during Hoxha's regime, this whole castle was apparently used as a political prison for anti-communists. So we're going to head in and see what there is left today. Kev, All right, so we made it into the castle. Scraped together some euros and some lek. It's 400 each. And first thing we find is the gate where we were locked out on the other side. There's some poor souls climbing their way up as well. A deja vu, isn't it, Kev? All right, so we've come out on the rooftop of what looks like it was a prison, which was built by King Zog, the last king of Albania, and then used by Enver Hoxha during the communist regime to hold political prisoners. But we're just saying, because this museum is kind of a bit shit, to be honest. There's like no signage, there's nothing telling you what's actually happening once you're through and you paid your entrance fee. So I'm sure there's a whole lot of history here that we're missing. There was there was a tomb, a Bektashi tomb. The Bektashis were a kind of unusual Ottoman religious order, which was popular with the Janissaries, who were the...
Stop walking.
Come right to the edge.
As if there's no signage for like,
Yeah. As I was saying, the Bektashis were a kind of religious order that originated in Anatolia amongst the Ottoman soldiers, the Janissaries, and spread. It became very popular in Albania until it was outlawed during the communist era. But interestingly, it's the first Bektashi's tomb I've seen, which you can actually see down here. That's where we came from. The Albanian government has agreed to create a sovereign Bektashi nation similar to the Vatican City in Rome. So this religious order will have their own sort of mini sovereign state in the capital, in Tirana. So yeah, it's the first time I've encountered the Bektashis, but they could be the next official UN recognised country if the plan goes ahead. Although I think there's a lot of resistance to giving up Albanian sovereignty to a religious order. So this is the Great Gallery. This is where all the armaments were kept. But now it's kind of a museum to all the different military memorabilia that's been collected. So we just come on top of the ramparts, and there's an American spy plane on the rooftop. Now apparently this was forced landed in 1957 at a nearby airport. The Americans said it was a sort of training flight that went wrong, and the pilot had to do an emergency landing in Albania. The Albanians said they forced it to land and it was a spy plane, but it's been here ever since. Yet another piece of the Albanian Cold War mystery. So that is it from Gjirokastër, guys. I'm going to call it a day now. A long day cycling, and then a long day's walking around the old town. But tomorrow we're going to continue the journey on the e-bikes, heading across to the Albanian Riviera, to the south coast. We've got a long, over 70-kilometre ride to make, but we should end in Sarandë. All right, good morning from day 5 of our e-bike ride across southern Albania. So we just took a little transfer, we cheated a bit, from Gjirokastër to the top of the Muzin Pass. From here, we've got a 70-kilometre ride down to the Albanian Riviera. So the route today will take us down through the pass itself, and then we'll emerge in Butrint National Park, where it looks like there's a lot of Ottoman, Byzantine, and even a few Venetian ruins for us to explore. So this is where we got dropped off the top of the pass by this petrol station, but it looks like we're going to be sharing the roads today with a little bit of the Albanian wildlife. A couple of horses making their way up the pass from the way that we're about to head down. So a couple of horses, a lot of horses. Oh, herd of horses. I can't see any horse shepherds or whatever you call them, farmers. Bloody hell. Alright, something spooked that horse. So far on this trip we've been attacked by an Illyrian sheepdog. We've had to navigate herds of sheep and goat. I was also almost attacked by a snake at the swimming hole. And now apparently we're dealing with wild horses too. First stop of day 5, we've descended from the pass and we've arrived here at what is one of the most famous natural attractions in Albania, the Blue Eye. So these are natural springs which apparently reach a depth of up to 50 meters, possibly more. They're not quite sure, that's as far as they've gone. And the natural spring water just bubbles up. And because it's fed through the limestone karst rocks that are found in this area of the Balkans, it's just crystal clear, like you can see there. It's just clear with a tinge of blue turquoise. Yeah, spectacular natural site. Pretty busy though, people coming from here, from the Riviera, from Sarandë, where we're heading to next. We made it 50 kilometers and we've just arrived at Butrint National Park in southern Albania. Check this out. So we're heading down here towards this lagoon area, and beyond that is Greece. And interestingly, on the ride we've seen a lot more churches again, and a lot of the signs are in the direction signs are in Greek and in Albanian. So I think there's a lot of Greek speaking communities in this southern part of Albania, in this borderland. How you feeling, Kev? Trying to ride off into the scorching hot sun. Oh yeah, this is the best way to see Albania. Escape the crowds, get off the beaten track, and enjoy this beautiful ride. So we've made it to Kaysa, so on the other side of this little lagoon really, or river, is Butrint Archaeological Park. And to get there we've got to take this tiny little ferry, which you can just see behind me crossing, which has got two cars precariously balanced on top. So yeah, the only way to cross this little stretch of water at this point anyway is this tiny little ferry made from rusting iron and planks of wood by the looks of it. It's a cable ferry, so it's just being pulled across. I think it's automatic rather than people actually pulling it. I imagine it's been done in a similar fashion for centuries. This whole area in southern Albania is sort of defined by these lagoons, Samil and Butrint. And yeah, you can see behind me there's this big fortification. This is a Venetian castle. So at some point the Venetians were here controlling this area, presumably so they had access to the sea and their sort of trading port empire, which stretched across the Mediterranean. So they built this this Venetian triangular castle. And then on the other side of this little lagoon as well, there's more fortifications which are part of Butrint Archaeological Park, which we'll check out once we've made it across the ferry. Oh, hi Kev. Kevin has made it to the top of the Venetian fortress. All right, let's go. So it is 100 lek if you're walking, 200 lek for a bicycle. And you can exchange your money at the bar behind it. 100 euros, 9,000 lek. I think that's a pretty bad exchange rate. But presumably this is one of the first, you have to cross here if you come from Greece in the south, unless you go all the way around. Hello. This side.
My friend, one by one, because you come in the car.
Yeah. Getting told off by the ferryman. So this is the ferry. We've got about 3 or 4 cars stacked behind us. We're at the front on the bikes. It's pretty rusty and rickety, but I think it's going to get us there. Okay, here we go.
Go, my friend.
Thank you. Excellent. When you get to the other side, this is where the major sort of sections of the archaeological park are. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So this is the entrance to Butrint National Park. It's 1,000 lek to get in, which is about 10 quid. All right, so we caved, we paid the 1,000 lek entry fee to Butrint Archaeological Park. And it is indeed a fascinating piece of history. So this has roots going back at least 2,500 years, possibly before that, to the sort of Hellenistic tribes and Illyrian tribes that lived in this area. But this is the Venetian tower. So the Venetians were here from the 13th, 14th century, 15th century. They controlled Corfu, which you can actually just about see beyond this channel over there in the distance. Now, when they took control of Corfu, they also took control of Butrint. So they would have access, strategic access to the straits and the channels around the Balkan and Greek area. So the Venetians held on to this area until 1797. They were continually at war with the Ottomans, who controlled most of the rest of the Balkans. And eventually a guy called Ali Pasha, who we came across in Gjirokastër yesterday, managed to take the place. And then it came under, well, Ali Pasha's rule, nominally part of the Ottoman Empire. And he built another castle, which I don't think we can get to because you have to access that by boat. And he built that somewhere in the straits to fortify his hold on Butrint. So there's layers of history here. This is one of the earliest eras of construction anyway. This was the Hellenistic tribes that kind of lived in this area, built this temple dedicated to the god Asclepius, maybe Asclepius. I'm not sure how, my ancient Greek isn't too good anymore. But anyway, the ancient Greeks built temples here in the 4th century BC before the Romans then came along and doing what the Romans do best, conquered everything. So Asclepius was the god of medicine, the Greek god of medicine. So people would come here to have their ailments, injuries healed and treated, which is why Butrint became a very important place in the Hellenistic world. So this was the temple dedicated to Asclepius, the god of medicine, and this was the theatre they built here as well. Spectacular. So the Romans, not just any Roman, but Julius Caesar, came here in 44 BC, and Caesar decided this would be an excellent spot to build a colony for his sort of retiring Roman soldiers who'd served him so well on campaign. So they built many more extensions onto the sort of shrine area that the Greeks had built and turned it into a more of a thriving Roman town. Now we're onto the later Byzantine era ruins. And so they built a baptistery here after obviously everyone in the region converted to Christianity. Yeah, the number of ruins here is impressive, so glad we paid the 1,000 lek entry fee to get in. Very cool. So these would have been the city walls, which were built alongside the channel, obviously, to protect the colony. This is such an interesting part of Albania. I don't know if I can capture this on camera, but on some of the hilltops on the other side, you can see Christian churches and big crosses, big white crosses on top of them. But then in the distance along the valley, stretching towards Greece, there's also a minaret. There's a really multicultural borderland. So I suppose after the Byzantines were here, even though the Venetians held on to this specific area for a long time, several centuries, the Ottomans would have started to take over much of the surrounding lands. This place is just ridiculous. So according to the epic Roman poem, the Aeneid, which charts the journey of the refugees from Troy to their new homes across the world, some of the refugees made it to Butrint, and as the Roman legend has it, they founded the ancient city. Now, whether or not that's true, we'll never really know. However, what we do know from excavations is that these walls here on the water side date to the 4th century BC, and rather spectacularly, in my opinion. They were constructed almost like a jigsaw, like a Tetris piece. So each piece of stone was put together block by block without the use of cement or mortar. A really impressive example of 4th century BC masonry and architecture and engineering. Oh, cool. Yeah, so you can see here, this is one of the channels that then feeds in and kind of cuts this whole, basically a peninsula off from the mainland. And I think this road just down here, that's where we'll be cycling to get to Sarandë after this. So from here we got 20 k's left to go before we hit Sarandë and the Albanian Riviera, which is where day 5 our cycling journey across southern Albania will end. Beautiful. Let's go, maybe. Good morning from Sarandë, the Albanian Riviera. We spent the night here in this little hotel by the beach with Corfu, the maritime border between Greece and Albania, behind us. So today is day 6 of e-biking around Albania. And this is the last day we'll be on the bikes. So from here in Sarandë, we'll be heading north, following the coast all day for 55 kilometers till we get to a little beach town called Himarë, which I had, again, never heard of before we undertook this trip. When we finally get to Himarë, we can rest our weary legs and enjoy a few last Albanian beers. So let's go. Alright, 20k down on the final day. We've been coming up all of these switchbacks and hills. So far today has been the toughest day apart from day 2. We've got 35k's left to push through and we're just bloody hell. We're coming up and down these hills along the coast. So we started down here in Sarandë and we'll just be following the coast north until we get to Himarë. Alright, we made it to the top of the hill. So this lovely little cafe perched atop the roadside with a spectacular view. Of course, getting a nice coffee with this view. Incredible little place. "40k's done, up and down. We've done about 800 meters climbing, mainly up. How are you feeling on the last day, Kev?
I'm feeling great. I love in the climbs.
Looking forward to a cold beer at the end of it?
And a dip
And a dip.
of tzatziki and of the sea. See.
We've made it to our penultimate stop of the day, the last stop before we get to Himarë. And we pulled over on the coast at this place here. This is the Porto Palermo Castle. This was built by our man Ali Pasha, who was a sort of like an Ottoman warlord who ruled much of Albania. He ruled Butrint and large parts of southern Albania and Greek islands as well. And he sort of established himself as a semi-independent ruler. He sort of paid tribute to the Ottomans, but basically ran much of southern Albania and parts of Greece as his own sort of personal fiefdom. He built places like this to defend his rule. So we've just walked over here from the mainland, but this used to be a little island. But they attached it to the land, and then later on it was used as a shelter and a military base during the Second World War and then during the communist era as well. And now, of course, just a little tourist attraction. Okay, one more stop it turns out. So we've just come up from Ali Pasha's castle. I can show you it in the distance now, just along the coast there. And down here, of interest, is an old Soviet submarine pen. You can just see it down there, the concrete outline of it next to the turquoise waters. Now during the Cold War, apparently this area was used by the Soviets to basically store their submarines. I'm not sure how secret it was, how well known it was, but this would have given them access to the Mediterranean basically. And yeah, the ruins of it is still there, which is quite cool, in the bay. Although this says it's also a military zone. This could still be an Albanian military zone as well, so I better get on the road again. We made it into Himarë, but right at the end, Kev's e-bike gave out. The battery went completely flat on the last hill. He got to the top of the hill and now he's just coasted down, but now he's having to walk the last kilometre to the hotel. So close, Kev. So far.
I literally expended all my energy into the hill, thinking the downhill was the end.
That's the one mishap we've had all trip, apart from animal attacks. It's not bad going, really. 381.6 kilometers and 6 days of cycling later.
Completed it, mate.
And we did it. We've made it to Himarë.
Woo!
Time for a beer.